Hello artists, how are you today? It's Stephanie Oni coming to you from the banks of the Trinity River here in Six Rivers National Forest near Willow Creek, California, and welcome to the studio. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. In creating your altered book part 7, we focus on transparencies. Look at that background. Oh, it is to die for, and truly it's very simple to make. It is, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, you may remember when we were talking about our cityscape, I was talking to you about deli sheets made off of the jelly press, but these did end up getting painted over with luminaire paints, so they lost their transparency. Here we are really focusing on creating a transparent layer and creating some amazing luminosity. Look at those girls. Now, you may notice that instead of encouraging you to create your own art, as I have been doing, I am using images, and we have to talk about image sourcing. Really? Do we have? Yeah, we do. We need to talk about it. So, real quick, let's go over the supplies that I used for this project. I used some napkins, and I used some tissue paper, and then I used some Mod Podge, and then I used some distress crayons, and then I used more Mod Podge, and then I used some sprays. I think I used the shimmer spray, not sure if I did. I know for sure I used the fired brick. I'll put a link for a set of shimmer sprays. They're super fun to use. Could have used a lot more of these in this episode, but they're not quite as transparent as you would think they would be. So that's why I didn't use all shimmer spray. Fired brick is great for antiquing things. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, what else did we use? We used our Stabilo 8046, this guy. Where did we use our Stabilo at? We used it around our images. I use a very controlled Stabilo because it can make a muddy, yucky mess, especially when you're going around words. So I use it with a paintbrush. I do. I like having a controlled line. What else did we use? We used our Timber Brown StazOn. Where'd it go? It was right here. I got this huge pile of stuff. This is the black. I used the Timber Brown along the edges. Use a permanent ink along the edges in order so that the ink doesn't come off on people's hands or wear off over time. So permanent ink for your edging is perfect. And then last but not least, is this the last thing I used? Liquid pearls, Rangers. They are a great product. They are, truly. Love them. They give a raised surface. I need to get a few more colors with them. This blue, this teal color is really fabulous. This is a simple background. You don't need a lot of supplies. Now, just to let you know real quick, I do have a transparency pack that I have on my Etsy store. It will have all sorts of things. So if you are just building up your stash, it's a really well-rounded set of stuff, group of stuff. If you're interested, go over to my Etsy store, check it out. The link will be in the comments. I also do have a napkin pack. So it has, I'm not sure how many different napkins in there, but if you're interested, if you'd like a variety of napkins, go and check it out. Okay, so now we need to talk about image sourcing. I know it's not fun, but we're gotta do it. Okay, just a second. It's time to have the talk. The talk. It's actually time to have the copyright talk. I know. It would be more fun to talk about sex than it is to talk about copyrights and image sourcing. But, I was just licking my hand. But this is the perfect time to do it. And in creating your first altered book and in using images, you should probably be aware of the correct information regarding copyrights. Now, just to let you know, I did do a full video on copyright. I did do a full video on copyright. I will put a link down in the comments so you can go to that if you really want to have more information on it. But let's do a general overview here. So let's put ourselves in a scenario. Even you narcissists, let's try to put yourself into this person's shoes, okay? You're an artist. And you were just published in a really cool, funky magazine. And you were just published last month because you did this great painting of this fabulous girl. I mean, she was so cool. So cool. And you're very proud of this fact that you were published. And, you know, you're at your local street fair, right? And you're walking down the road, looking at everybody's art, and you come across a mixed media artist. And you look in their booth. And there's your girl. There's your girl. She has on a flower hat and butterfly wings. Ooh, butterfly wings. Ooh. Butterfly wings. Your girl is slapped on a horrendous background with a flower hat and butterfly wings. And you go up to that artist and you say, "That's my art. That is my art. You've taken my art." "Well, I've changed it. It's not your art." "No, that's my art. That's my girl. That's mine." "Well, I've changed it. I was told it was okay as long as I change it 10%, and as long as I'm not mass distributing it, it should be okay." That's my art. So, could that artist take that person to court? And could that person fight that in the court of law? Absolutely. And everybody could spend a lot of money doing it. Or you could just have integrity and not use anybody else's artwork. I know that's not what we want to hear. I know that's not what you want to hear. Copyright laws are this big, gray, smudgy stabilo line that just smeared. It's gray, guys. There is no set rule. It is a case-by-case basis. So in this case, we need to monitor ourselves. We really do. And we need to have integrity with our work. And copying ideas or copying somebody's artwork or images, it's not cool, right? I know it sucks. Where do you find royalty-free images? Well, I want to tell you, I was going to use an image here in this book that was this beautiful angel that had a dragon wrapped around it, and I had fussy cut her out, and she was gorgeous. And I decided not to use it because what type of message am I sending to you if I use somebody else's recent artwork? Even though I'm changing the image, it's just not cool. It's really not cool. So what images can you use without any issues? Well, something that's published pre-1923. This is an Alphonse Mucha painting that was published in, this painting was created in 1899. So that's why I use a lot of Victorian images, and that's why I really do try to use older images. I know it's not as fun, I know it's not as exciting, but I really want to have the integrity to not use somebody else's art. It's kind of my goal here lately, is to really push myself to create my own artwork, for one, but also to be conscious of what else of whose images I'm using. Now, this is a Tim Holtz postcard. This is, you can find these in craft stores. So they are set up for you to be able to use copyright free. That does not mean that I have the right to distribute either one of these images. I don't have the rights to distribute. I can use them pretty surely without having copyright issues. Now, there is an artist out there telling people that they can change the image 10% and it's okay, as long as they're not distributing it. And that is not cool. Not cool. You know, and how do you know if something is copyright or not? Well, there's a Google image search. All you have to do is pop that image in and boom, it comes up, Shutterfly. Wow. Yes. So my Patreons, I am able to give you images, any image I want to. I am not infringing on copyrights by doing that. However, My Patreons do have an express understanding that these images are not copyright free. They use them at their own risk. If it's for personal use, do whatever you want to do, right? But if you're going to sell a piece of art, let's have integrity about it, and let's not steal other people's ideas or images or hard work. It's just a difference between having integrity or being a jerk. That's all I'm going to say about that. There is a link in the description for the full copyright video, so check it out. Okay, we'll chat soon. Bye. Hello, artists. Okay, so we finished up that last week, and we did this the week before. Those will all be in the Creating Your First Altered book. I have a playlist on my channel, so you can go and check those out. Remember, the first video of this series was talking about how to choose the correct book and what to look for. Super informative. I talk about all the different types of journals and books there are out there, and then I also talk about all sorts of other interesting things. Yes, I do. I like to think that it was interesting and informative. That's what I'm shooting for. You know, I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I can in 30 minutes or less. Woof. It's hard. Okay, so I'm just going to put some base layer on this page, and we are going to do something cool today. Okay, just go ahead and put your pieces down however you want to. Remember, there's no right or wrong to putting the base layer down. I kind of like to, you know, put mine in different directions, and this is kind of my favorite book right now, so I use it a lot for my ephemera level, because I think it's cool beans. Yes, 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 I do. Now, these pages have a little bit of the spray ink on them. You're seeing that orange. That spray ink was done on the Patreon project. So I'm currently working on 3 projects. So the spray inks and the spray stains, those are not water soluble. So just remember that. You will be getting color and paint all over the place as you use them. I'm good with that. I like it. It's given me some variety and some interest already. Which, that's why we do it, right? All right, artists. So we have a base layer of ephemera on here. And, you know, I just have this tissue sitting here that I just saw. And I just went, ooh, let's put some tissue paper on here. So we're gonna, because why not? So using tissue paper as a transparency works out pretty darn cool. Tissue paper and napkins and all of those wonderful things are the building blocks to the layers of your book. Layers and layers and layers. In mixed media, that is what we are all about. Layers. Pretty, 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 pretty. Love it. Okay. So you see how that tissue paper is drying transparent. Yep. Okay. So I like where we're at. But I just decided to go a little bit further. Why? Well, because I can. Yes. Because that's what it's all about. Come here, buddy. So I kind of do a little tear like that. And you see how that brings that edge up? Super simple then to grab it. Now that color is luscious. Luscious. We're gonna tear off gently. Now you can also put a line of water in there to do that. Yep, you could. Be easier. Easier. Okay, you don't get a lot of chances with this. Just put it down correctly the first time. Kind of pat it in there. Work from the center and push out. Now, probably would have been easier if I would have used strips with it instead of just the whole napkin. But I kind of wanted to use the whole napkin. Plop it down, plop it down, plop it down. Kind of don't rub on it. Oh, I love that. I guess I'm in the blue mood today. I had pulled another. Do I want to go with something totally different for this side? Yes. What are you doing? I'm mixing it up. Why would you do that? Because it looks better. In my mind, it'll look better when I have some variety to the patterns. It creates more interest. It does. Putting down generous gobs of goop Mod Podge. Matte got Mod Podge. I buy it by the gallon. It's good stuff. It works well. I don't have issues with it. Yeah, I don't like that yellow though. I love that shape. That yellow will look good underneath all of this stuff. All right, so I have trimmed it all up. I had added a couple extra little pieces here to just give it a little bit more variety. Thinking about using some distress crayons on here. This is Peacock Feathers. Always love this color. Now I'm not using a ton of it. You know, understand that it's going to, you know, just kind of be selective with where you're putting it. If you don't like distress crayons, once they come, once they're on, you know, you can take them off with water, somewhat. You do have some work time with them. They are water soluble. And I like how it is picking up the little wrinkles there. That's very cool. Let's actually, you know, I did get a photo. Oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Oh, pretty colors. Okay, let's look at these. Antique bronze or tarnished brass. Those look pretty similar. I'd like gold. Here's silver. Does not look like I have a gold. Mermaid Lagoon is always a great color too. Just a little bit of variety in color. I'm a blue person. I really love blues. Now, if we want to pull in something opposite though, opposite of blue, to create interest, right? Let's look here. Blue will be our oranges. Do I want to do that? Oh, it's kind of scary. Especially since I have blue on my hand. So blue and orange are going to make brown, guys. Let's use a different finger. But I'm going for a vintage look. I want something to kind of mellow it out, tone it down just a little bit here. Oh, don't judge right off the bat. You've got to work this stuff in here and see what happens with it and give it a chance to do its thing. We're using something different today. Distress crayons are really cool, so we're gonna play with them a bit. See what's happening? That's cool. Okay, remember that the orange is a great contrast color. So now we're bringing in some green, which will give us some great variety in the piece itself. And it works nicely with both the blues and the orange. Here we're bringing in some darker colors into the center. And then we are going to bring in some of the brass color and the bronze color to give it some great shimmer. It does take down the intensity of those other colors, and that's a good thing. Those will be continue to be taken down as you go along. Then we're going to come in with some brown here in just a minute, but still we are putting in the brass, it looks like. I love finger painting. It's a lot of fun. Okay, here is the dark brown. So we're putting this into the center of the book and also along the edges because we're wanting to kind of create somewhat of a framework. We don't want to cover up all that different variety that we have in there, but this will really give us a nice, again, vintage tone, and it adds a lot of warmth also. Now I'm going to take a shot of that Tangerine Dream Dilutions mica spray, and we're going to kind of blot it off. When I'm blotting that off, it will be taking up some of that color since it is a water soluble. Distress crayons are water soluble, so it will bring it back up. Now I'm putting the images back down to just kind of get an idea of how the colors are and where they're at. I want these two girls to relate to each other, so I'm using similar components, but the images are vastly different. I decided I wanted a little bit more highlight in here, so we brought in some more of the yellow color. Not sure which one that is off the bat. You guys, you don't have to use the exact same colors I have, but just use a variety of colors. Now when you bring Mod Podge and kind of dry brush it in a light layer over the top of Distress crayons in that shimmer spray, it really brings out that transparency for one, but it also makes this really warm and vintage. It's giving us kind of this almost antique wallpaper look, which is stunning. I really do love this effect. Again, just a light amount of Mod Podge. It is not gloppy on there. If you get too much, it will not dry as well. It'll kind of give you kind of a milky look to it, and we don't want that. Now when I'm flipping through, I'm kind of looking at the colors and comparing it to the other colors in the book because I still want all of my pages to relate to each other. I want them to feel like they belong together. That was a spray of Fired Brick, which darkens the tone and also adds a little more vintage. Here we're bringing in some, looks like peacock feathers possibly, or the China blue. Oh, and then we're putting a little bit more Mod Podge over it. Just adjusting the colors and trying to get a little bit deeper, richer tone. Here are the different components. Now that is a piece of craft paper that was printed. I believe I got that pad like at Hobby Lobby or something. It has some really nice craft paper. It's a thicker paper, so I'm putting it on with the Fabri-Tac. This is a Tim Holtz element, which I'm using on both sides. I can't remember which package that's from. I'm sorry. That is a Tim Holtz postcard. The Fabri-Tac adheres better than the Mod Podge. And also, I didn't want to put all that Mod Podge over the top of everything because it can kind of get smeary sometimes, and I wanted kind of crisp. I want to be able to adjust the colors when I want to adjust them, not by having a smear of color on there. Okay, and then here I am bringing in the Alphonse Mucha painting. I have always loved that one. That girl is so beautiful. Putting on a nice layer of Fabri-Tac, and then what I will do is I will come over all of it with a clean cloth. I might have put a little bit of water on that cloth just to be able to push down all of the elements. I don't want to smear my dirty hands all over the whole piece of art. Oh, here I'm first doing a little bit of cleanup, and now here is where I'm pushing all of the paper down, getting a really nice contact. Well, deciding I needed a little bit more of a color adjustment. Not unusual. I adjust my colors all the time until they get to where I want them to be. This, I believe, is the Brass Distress Crayon. Not positive on that. You can use any of them from that particular set. Bringing again a little bit of Mod Podge over it. Now I am going over those other elements. I am not going over the top of the focals. I'm wanting to kind of blend those elements into the background, and the best way to do that is to kind of pull in some of those background colors. Again, being very controlled about the process. Cool stuff. I love how this piece turned out. And I hope you're enjoying the process. Okay. So I have these kind of fun little sayings. It's a word definition set. And we're going to put that right there. And I want that to catch a little bit of that color. I don't like the color that it is, so we will be changing that color. Unless we can make that work. Breaks the barriers. Okay. We have our Stabilo. I think that will set this off really nicely. We do want everything to mostly be dried. Now, you guys know I don't like to make a mushy mess with my Stabilo. I like a very controlled line. For a reason. Gives a gorgeous shadow when you do it right. When you do Stabilo wrong, it looks like a big, mushy, gray mass. So just take your time with it. Okay.